Okay, so this is just a quick guide on how to set up a instrumental sound selector with visual feedback. And I find the visual feedback to be pretty cool, especially in a live set. It's nice to be able to see what sound you've got selected before you actually play that sound, and to be able to go back to other pages, do other things, go back and still see what sounds are selected. So I've just got a bass, drums and some silly effects over there. Just play them quick and toggle through them. And obviously, if I go away from that page, and go back to it again, I can still see what sound I've got selected. So very cool, especially if you've got a live set with a load of instruments in it. Nice to be able to see what you've got selected before you play it. Cool, so how that's set up in Ableton is, and I'm just going to look at the very first one, the bass track right now, is I've got an instrument rack on that first track with my 3 different bass sounds in it. And I've got their zones spread out, so that's the chain selector. Toggles between the 3 different sounds. And the way you would usually set this up to toggle between those would be to have 3 clips in there, and on those clips you would put the chain select value up, and on that clip put it up to a value of 2, so that whenever you launch these clips, the chain selector in that instrument rack automatically goes to whatever value that clip specifies. But the disadvantage of doing it that way is that you're depending on these clips within this track to tell the chain selector what to do, which means that you can't record any new clips into that track, which kind of defeats the point of a live set, because you want to be recording whatever you're playing. So the way around that is to use Clyphx, which is just a scripting application that runs inside Ableton. And really it's just, you create a clip, you name the clip, and the name of that clip is the scripting action. So I've got these 3 tracks here, which control the bass, drums, and effects track. So I'm just going to pull this back across, just to make it easy to see what's going on. So this is just a MIDI track with 3 MIDI clips inside of it. Actually, just delete those and create a new one from scratch. So the first part of the script is just to give the clip a name. Whatever you call it, doesn't really matter. Then the second part is to tell the script which track you want to perform the actions on. So the bass is the very first track in this live set. So it's track 1, and then device, or device 1, chain select, and a value of 0. So the action we're doing over here, if we just look at the Clyphx manual, is device chain select, which adjusts device chain selector value. The reason there's the 1 there is because if we look at the bass track, I've got quite a few devices in there, and I want this action to carry or to be performed on the very first device. So if we just look at this again, it's just a name for that clip, which track to effects, device 1, which is this instrument rack, chain select, and a value of 0. So just need 2 more clips, and the only thing that needs to be changed is the chain select value. Put in a 1 and a 2, and that 0, 1, 2 corresponds to the chain select value 0, 1, 2 in there. So when these clips are launched, that chain select value updates itself. On these clips, one thing to do is just to put the quantization to none, make sure loop is on, and I prefer them to be in toggle. So now when these clips are launched, because there's no quantization, if you look down here, that sound Just back to the Launchpad. MIDI map, and these buttons here just need to be mapped to those 3 clips over there, so that now when they're launched, you can see that it's changed into like a very dull shade of red. And the reason it's doing that is because we're getting the visual feedback on these clips from the mapping on this clip over here. So as long as this clip is playing, that light stays on, but it gives a very weird shade of red. So the way around that is to put a MIDI note in these clips, and this MIDI note needs to correspond to the button on the Launchpad. So in the Launchpad reference manual, you'll see that these 3 buttons over here correspond to those 3 buttons over there. There's the whole layout. So we want to use E3, F3, and F#3. So back in that first clip, just going to put an E3 and duplicate it across. The reason I don't just do one continuous clip like that is because the Launchpad, it doesn't really like it that much sometimes. It works better with a load of clips after each other. So if we just launch that first one again, you see the clip now stays orange instead of that dull shade of red. And to change that color, just change the velocity of those notes. So I'm going to try and find a green. It's a bit hit and miss. I'm just going to leave it on that nice shade of jelly yellow. So I just want to copy that velocity setting down. So I'm actually just going to delete those clips. Copy that one across again. Rename it to chain select value 1, chain select value 2. And in those clips, we need to move those notes up to F3, and in the last one, F#3. So that these notes now correspond to the buttons on the Launchpad. So if I launch those clips now, they've all got that nice jelly yellow shade to them. One thing I like to do is, once I've set this up, is to just move that out the way. So these 3 clips over here, or these 3 tracks, are just the various script controls for the bass, drums, and effects track. One more thing, if you're using scenes to toggle clips on the actual instrument tracks, you don't want to be toggling these various sound selectors. So it might be a good idea to move those out the way and just remove the stop button on those tracks, so that when you launch a scene, these sound selector clips aren't launched. Obviously, if you move them, you'll have to remap their MIDI. I think that's it. Just group that, minimize it, and it's out the way. So yeah, very nice way to build up a live set with visual feedback on all the various sounds that you've got in your live sets. Cool, that's it.